A very good afternoon and welcome to All Saints Church for the fourth of our lunchtime live concerts of the 2023 season. It's good to see so many here, though as we introduce today's performer, of course the weight of the audience will justify the performer. It's always a joy to introduce Richard Pinel, about whom I'd say he needs no introduction to those of you from these parts, but if you need an introduction, there's an extensive one written on the back of today's programme. He is a freelance organist and choral conductor and director of music at St Mary's Bourne Street in Belgravia, and we look forward to his electrifying impact and tremendous verve on being performed on our Great West organ, restored lovingly in 2021 and given a new lease of life for the foreseeable future. Richard is going to perform for us today Marcel Dupré's Symphonie-Passion, and interspersed with the four movements of those of the symphony, we are going to insert a piece of Gregorian Chant appropriate to each of those movements, and short literary passages drawn from the treasury of Christian poetry, from which we can draw. And up on the gallery there is my colleague Jem Lowther, who is going to sing for us, when we come to those parts of today's recital. Just one or two practical things. If you need the toilet, then that's just out into the narthex and to the right. In the event of an emergency, we'll gather out on the piazza and take further instructions from the emergency services. And if I can invite you to switch your phones at the very least to silent, but if I could ask you to switch the Wi-Fi off, because even if you're not connected to the Wi-Fi, then it can often upset our system one way or the other, simply because they like to talk to each other as we perform. And as ever, we ask you not to take photographs or videos during the recital. If you'd like to watch again, you will be able to find the recording on our YouTube and Facebook channels, and we extend a warm welcome to those who are joining us virtually online this afternoon. I'll ask you in a moment to warmly welcome Richard Pinel, and then we will begin with the chant Jesu, Redemptor, Omnium, paired with the first movement of Dupré's Goethe Symphony. Will you please welcome Richard Pinel?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you to Father Oliver for such a warm welcome. Before we start properly, I thought I'd just say a few words about the piece of music that you're going to hear today. Marcel Dupré was kind of one of the great organ virtuosi of the 20th century, and one of the first of the kind of concert organists to tour around the world, and it was on a tour to America in the early 1920s that this piece of music was first heard. Dupré was famous for his improvisations, and it was a standard thing at the end of a concert for each organist to be given a theme by the audience, and then they would improvise a piece of music based upon it. This particular concert was in the Wanamaker department store in Philadelphia, which still exists today. It's Macy's now, and it's got, I think, the world's largest functioning organ in it. It's an absolutely great, vast instrument full of all sorts of colours and sounds. And Dupré was given a choice of 4 Gregorian Chant themes at the end of this concert, and he suddenly, kind of in a flash of inspiration, saw how they would hang together as a 4-movement symphony, and thus the Symphonie-Passion was first created. It was such a success that he spent the next few years kind of writing down and tweaking what he'd improvised. So the piece you will hear today is not the improvisation he gave then. It's the piece of music that was kind of based on and inspired by the ideas that he had on that day. I'm going to say a few words. In fact, I'm going to read a few words about each of the movements, just so you've got a bit of context. The symphony as a whole gives you 4 glimpses of the life of Christ, and the plain song that you'll hear Jem sing is woven into each of the movements, and then the words that Father Oliver will read will give some kind of extra depth and context to it all. So the first movement, The World Awaiting the Saviour, it's a dramatic work with pounding chords and irregular rhythms which depict a world of tormented and restless souls. After an abrupt climax, the Christmas hymn, Jesu, Redemptor, Omnium, is introduced very softly as a symbol of light in the darkness. The unrest resumes, but the hymn cannot be silenced. It becomes more and more insistent in a great crescendo, finally ringing out in triumph as hope overwhelms despair. We then move to the Nativity, and in this, Dupré adopts quite a kind of pictorial style. It takes the form of a triptych, so 3 sections, portraying the Virgin and Child, the March of the Shepherds to Bethlehem, and the Adoration of the Magi. The tender, swaying lullaby of the first section has a mysterious, almost oriental flavour, which returns in the third scene, where it is combined with the familiar melody of Adeste Fidelis before the angels and their blessing in 2 distant alleluias. The central section, you get a real sense of the journey. You can almost hear the camels clomping along the desert road. It's absolutely charming. The third movement, the Crucifixion, it's characterized by sinister, jagged rhythms which depict the faltering steps of Christ's ascent to Calvary. And they kind of mount relentlessly to a harrowing climax. Finally, in a desolate epilogue, the bleak, frozen image of the sorrowing mother is evoked by the fragmented, disembodied melody of the Stabat Mater Dolorosa. Resurrection is conceived as a vast crescendo built on the theme of the communion hymn Adoro Te. The dissonance of some of the music reflects the bitterness of Christ's struggle with the powers of darkness, but the home key of D major is finally established in a powerful toccata, around which the plain song thunders out in canon between treble and bass, echoing and intensifying the climax of the first movement and vividly illustrating the glorious triumph of life over death.
Jesu, Redemptor, Omnium, quem lugis ante originem, parem patene gloriae, Pater supremus et digit, tulum et splendor Patris, tus pes perennis omnium, intende quas fundum breges, tui per obem sevuli, mementor erum conditor, nos ricordolim corporis, sacrata balvo virginis, nascendo vomam sum seris, Jesu divis et gloria, qui natus est virgine, cum Patre et Almo Spiritu, in sempiternâ saecula. Amen.
When first thy sweet and gracious eye vouchsafed even in the midst of youth and night to look upon me who before did lie, weltering in sin, I felt a sugared strange delight, passing all cordials made by any art. Bid you embalm and overrun my heart and take it in. Since that time many a bitter storm my soul hath felt, even able to destroy, had the malicious and ill-meaning harm his swing and sway. But still thy sweet original joy, sprung from thine eye, did work within my soul, and surging griefs, when they grew bold, control, and got the day. If thy first glance so powerful be, a mirth but opened up and sealed up again, what wonders shall we feel when we shall see thy full-eyed love? When thou shalt look us out of pain, and one aspect of thine spend in delight, more than 1,000 suns disperse in light in heaven above.
triumphantes, venite, venite in Bethlehem. Natum vitete, regem angelorum, venite adoremus, venite adoremus, venite adoremus Dominum. Natum vitete, regem angelorum, venite adoremus, venite adoremus, venite adoremus Dominum. Pro nobis genum, et von occupatem, pis voleamus amplexibus. Signos amantem, qui non redamaret, venite adoremus, venite adoremus, venite adoremus Dominum. Signos amantem, qui non redamaret, venite adoremus, venite adoremus, venite adoremus Dominum.
Welcome, all wonders in one sight. Eternity shut in a span, summer in winter, day in night, heaven in earth and God in man. Great little one whose all-embracing birth lifts earth to heaven, stoops heaven to earth. Welcome though not to gold nor silk, to more than Caesar's birthright is. 2 sister seas of virgin milk, with many a rarely tempered kiss, that breeds at once both maid and mother, warms in the one, cools in the other. Welcome though not to those gay flies, gilded eye the beams of earthly kings, slippery souls in smiling eyes, but to poor shepherds homespun things, whose wealth their flock, whose wit to be well read in their simplicity. Yet when young April's husband showers shall bless the fruitful Maya's bed, will bring the firstborn of her flowers to kiss thy feet and crown thy head. To thee, dread Lamb, whose love must keep the shepherds more than they the sheep. To thee, meek Majesty, soft King of simple graces and sweet loves, each of us his lamb will bring, each his pair of silver doves, till burnt at last in fire of thy fair eyes, ourselves become our own best sacrifice.
Dum pentebat filius, cuius animam gementem, contris datam et dolentem, petransavit gladius. O quam tristis et afflicta, fuit illa benedicta, Mater unigenita, quem elebat et dolebat, pia mater dum videbat, nati buenas incliti, qui es homo qui non fleret, Matrem Christi si videret, in tanto supplicio.
What is happening? Today there is a great silence over the earth, a great silence and stillness, a great silence because the King sleeps. The earth was in terror and was still because God slept in the flesh and raised up those who were sleeping from the ages. God has died in the flesh and the underworld has trembled. Truly he goes to seek out our first parent like a lost sheep. He wishes to visit those who sit in darkness and in the shadow of death. He goes to free the prisoner Adam and his fellow prisoner Eve from their pains, he who is God and Adam's son. The Lord goes into them holding his victorious weapon, his cross. When Adam, the first created man, sees him, he strikes his breast in terror and calls out to all, "My Lord, be with you all." And Christ in reply says to Adam, "And with your spirit." And grasping his hand, he raises him up, saying, "Awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give you light. I am your God, who for your sake became your Son, who for you and your descendants now speak and command with authority those in prison. Come forth, and those in darkness have light, and those who sleep, rise. I command you, awake, sleeper, I have not made you to be held a prisoner in the underworld. Arise from the dead. I am the life of the dead. Arise, O man, work of my hands, arise, you who are fashioned in my image. Rise, let us go hence, for you in me and I in you, together we are one undivided person. Rise, let us leave this place. The enemy led you out of the earthly paradise. I will not restore you to that paradise, but I will enthrone you in heaven. I forbade you the tree that was only a symbol of life, but see, I who am life itself am now one with you. I appointed cherubim to guard you as slaves are guarded, but now I make them worship you as God. The throne formed by cherubim awaits you, its bearers swift and eager. The bridal chamber is adorned, the banquet is ready, the eternal dwelling places are prepared. The treasure houses of all good things lie open. The kingdom of heaven has been prepared for you from all eternity.
te contemplans totum te vigit. Visus tactus gustus in te valitur, sed auditus solo tuo creditur. Credo quid quindixit Dei filius, nil hoc verbo veritatis veritus. In cruce latebat sola Deitas, articlat et simul et humanitas. Ambo tamen credens atque convitens, peto quod petivit latro penitens. Jesu quem velatum nunc as vigio, oro fiat illud quotam sitio, ut te revelata cenens facie, visus impeatus tuae gloriae. Amen.
I have no wit, no words, no tears. My heart within me like a stone is numbed too much for hopes and fears. Look right, look left, I dwell alone. I lift my eyes but dimmed with grief, no everlasting hills I see. My life is in the falling leaf. O Jesus, quicken me. My life is like a faded leaf, my harvest dwindled to a husk. Truly my life is void and brief, and tedious in the barren dusk. My life is like a frozen thing, no bud nor greenness can I see, yet rise it shall, the sap of spring. O Jesus, rise in me. My life is like a broken bowl that cannot hold one drop of water for my soul, or cordial in the searching cold. Cast in the fire the perished thing, melt and remould it till it be a royal cup for him, my King. O Jesus, drink of me. Well, electrifying and tremendous were the words, and we owe a huge debt of gratitude to Richard for not only the wonderful performance, but in leading us into Passiontide and Holy Week through that great work and through so much ingenuity and skill. Richard, we are immensely grateful, and thank you so much for today. You can clap again, I think. Off we go. We are on the cusp of the celebration of Holy Week and Easter here at All Saints, and the liturgical playing out and telling of that same story that we have heard through Marcel Dupré's music. And at the back of church, you'll find copies of the Holy Week and Easter book, which tells you a little bit about what's going to go on over the next 10 or 12 days or so, as well as the significance of each of the days of the Triduum as we proceed from Palm Sunday through Maundy Thursday and Good Friday. The silence of Holy Saturday, as we heard in that wonderful anonymous homily, and unto the great joy of the resurrection. I hope you take that away. There's suggestions for as much as anything else for your giving, for your reading, and for your listening during this time. And I hope that is helpful, as well as being an invitation to be part of our celebration of the Passion and the death and the resurrection of Christ. The next Lunchtime Live is going to be on Thursday, the 4th of May, at the usual time of 1:10 p.m, when the soloist is going to be Jessica Smith, who is another former chorister of All Saints Church, and now our vocal coach. And she will be accompanied by Lawrence Caldecott, our assistant organist, who's up there looking a bit vague at the moment, so I won't get in the way. And we very much look forward to that, and I know that you will not want to miss that performance. We are dependent on your donations to the Friends of All Saints Music, which supports this programme of free concerts, as well as the musical education of young people. And in such a year as this, when we're planning our first international tour, since COVID broke out upon the world, it's a particularly important time for us to ask for your support. And there are lots of ways to do it. First of all, there's a bucket at the exit to church where you can fold your donation and pop it inside. If you're a UK taxpayer, please place it in a white Friends of All Saints Music gift aid envelope, not the yellow ones, they go to the church rather than to the music. And you can give that way. You can also give by scanning the QR code on today's programme at the bottom there, or, and especially for those of you who are joining us online, you can give through our Just Giving page, which you'll find in the description of the video on Facebook or YouTube or wherever you are watching today. And you can give whatever you can. We would be extraordinarily grateful for whatever you can give at such a time. It will go to supporting the provision of great music, of young musicians, and their education and promotion in our town and indeed across the world. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you again to Richard Pinel. We look forward to seeing you again next time.